Evening, gentlemen and ladies. This one, The Black Woman's Body, Part 1. Now, I think at some cognitive level, your sisters, your women, aren't so sure how they see you. What I mean by them is they. I mean, using Frantonisque terminology, I mean the other. Call it what you will. Generally, how the other view you. A, something tells me you wouldn't know how they see you, and B, as a great man who some of you like once said, you may not have the cognitive faculties at an emotional level to understand how they feel about you. Didn't Charlie Kirk say that? But hey, enough conversation. But anyway, let's get into this. Let's do all this with one of my little tales. I was going to a shop. Buy bits and pieces, whatever. And I'd always have banter with one of the owner's younger sons, just a little banter, women, and because they used to see me come in with a few of the ladies. And obviously, when the ladies are catching, people start talking, it is. And a lot of men, they'll compliment or harbour resentment deep down and make a little comment in a good way, but, they're hating or whatnot. We got into the topic of women one time. And he said, I like black girls. Because in the locality, there's a club around the corner, which is a black club, and quite close to me. And there'll always be some very pretty Nubian women, melanated women, coming in that shop and whatnot. So, and I'm sure he's probably beaten as well. Rewind that. Now, so, moving things on, so, on that note, I used to call him BG. So I'd go in the shop, what's up, BG? Oh, cool, how are you? Blah, 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 blah. Which is cool, the banter. Biggie, you like what you like, not my business. Not my place to tell whom or whom not to like. Don't really care. But hey, so, moving things onwards. There was an occasion where I was taking the bin out of my property to empty my bin one time. And I think he mistakenly believed that it was his bin or something like that. Which is nothing because there's quite a few bins outside the shop, whatever. But to cut the story short, he's carrying a bit off key, a bit funny style, So I was like, anyway, BG, you know what I mean? Along those lines. And he's like, hey, you can't say that. I was like, well, what do you mean? Oh, that's my dad there. Because, the car was parked there. And I think the girl there, who works in shop as well, his sister, although there's no resemblance, I didn't even clock that. I only know that it was his dad to him now. I think he was talking nonsense because the dad's much older. But anyhow, he's saying, that's my dad there. And I was like, okay. He goes, no, I can't say that. And he was offended that I called him BG in front of his dad. Well then, when you think about it, Dad's an older guy, wouldn't probably know what BG meant, which we all know. So what really was going on, because think about it, BG can mean anything. But what it was he felt offended, not that I called him BG, but as a reference to black women, and he does not want to be associated with that in front of his dad and his sister. That's what that's about. So, that's where it goes kind of deep when you get into it. Because on the surface level, you'll probably meet black girls in there, charm them, go to the club around the back. So go to the club which was placed in proximity to his shop. Who knows? Probably him and his boys probably, knowing you all, probably gave you probably a bag of weave or some shit like that. I don't think he sold weave, but let's give him that bag of weave, a little fiver. got sang out of, you know, some Shamika. Come on. I don't know, is that offensive on YouTube? What I'm going to do is have a look at YouTube's rules and regulations and find out what's offensive or what's not. But, you know, I don't want to be, you know, get myself cancelled. Probably shadow banned already, but hey, it is what it is. But yes, back to the matter in hand. So basically, you know, it's a case of him being offended, more so or not, on the premise of being called BG. So that's what that's about, because he doesn't want to be associated with you, or they lie in bed with you and they do his thing. So I say that to say this, you know. So obviously by that time, you know, gave the shop a little ban, not because of his insolence and the fact that, you know, I think it's offensive. I don't care about that. Got a ban because the bin issue. The bin comes before you. The bin has more sway than the bin. I found the bin issue more offensive, because, you know, like I said to him later, I said, you know what, no bin, no shop, and he got the hang of it. But before I even got to that point, it's funny. I think his sister had a word with him, I think, because when I said BG and he felt offended, I don't know, he kind of fixed up very quickly. But it's not, unless he thought, hold on, unless he probably, I don't think he's that cognitive. It fits in nicely with you all, but no, I don't think he's that cognitive, but somehow, some way, he kind of fixed up somehow. So maybe she said, what's all that about? He might have said, oh, black girls. She said, hold on, but you like black girls. But anyway, you should have said that, because it's like you got offended because you like black girls when you like them. And maybe, you know, you should have said that, and maybe he felt away because of that, or because, I don't know, but somehow, some way, maybe thought about it, I don't know. Or maybe it's custom. Maybe he's thinking, hold on, if I offend this guy, he won't come to my shop, and he'll go to the local Tesco's or the local Morrison's. So who knows? But the bottom line is, he fixed up, and, you know, that was that. But the point I'm making here is, you know, I don't think, you know, like some of yours hero, because some of you are crying over the fact that the great, you know, in your world, the great intellect, Charlie Kirk passed, and respectfully, RIP. I'm going to cover that in the next video after I've put this one out and the one I've got lined up. But it is what it is. I don't think that, you know, like, you know, our brother knows that, well, according to the stereotype, our brother knows that there's a stereotype surrounding the black D and black masculinity. Okay, you know, I mean, I know black guys who are up north, and they're a novelty, and they even say, you know what I mean, I even got black guys who fit that bill, you know, 6'2", bald head, you know, and, you know, they're in the gym, and, you know, okay, you know I'm going with this. But for your women, you know, ultimately, I don't think, you know what it's about, you know, or you think you're coming up on a hypergamy level, you know, that, yeah, this guy likes me because he's pumping me, when really, you know, it's another issue, you know. I don't think you can outweigh the fact that, because, you know, any above average woman has an option, in my opinion. So maybe, you know, if Ahmed's giving you a pump, you may feel, you know, for a bag of weed or a little bit of weave or whatever, then you're fine with that. You're good with that. But ultimately, if there's, you know, not going to say Jamal, say there's a Jason or a Michael who is, you know, on the come up, made a bit of money, got his little ride, got his house, really decent guy, got his little pad, you know, potential there, you probably knock him back. Because, you know, I think there's a video on here. I'm gonna leave it here, but there's a video I saw with a Skexville, a little bashy girl with a little mouth on her. And she's talking about, yeah, man, you know, the usual, you know, giving it the usual talk about how, you know, well, no, I'm not saying usual talk, but she's giving it the one where I'm seeing this, I think it's Ahmed actually, funny enough, who runs chicken shops, and how she was seeing him, whatever. And she thought, yeah, I've seen this Ahmed, he's got a string of chicken shops, you know, chicken shops that he's, you know what I mean? And, you know, I was thinking, there you go, you know. Obviously not my type, I mean, you know, too much mouth and too much, you know, I'm going with this. But those girls somehow, some way, Someone's laying their hands on them. Because sometimes, somewhere down the line, these guys are getting pregnant. So that same little skitty girl, someone could tell me, show me the video, send it to me, whatever. That same little piece of bashment is getting excited and, getting a raise out of Ahmed and his shots. And really, I'm sure there's a little Jamal around the corner, or a Warren, or a Stephen who's on the come up. But anyway, I'm going with this. Anyway, let me wrap this one up. As the great Charlie Kirk said, I don't think you've got that. And on a certain level, I've talked to some of you. It's like you're trying to fix up, and you can say a few things, but ultimately that only goes so far. You know your range, and that's the reason why. Subject for another video incoming. Why, yeah. Anyway, let me leave it there. I don't want to reveal too much, but that's it. That's a wrap. Fix up or fix out, as they say. Whatever. Do your doing, but yeah, it is what it is. Later. Look out for part 2. The Black Woman's Body. That was part 1. Later.